All right, guys, we're back. Sanch here. Welcome back to another episode on the Bodybuilding News Network, specifically another episode of Bodybuilding Today. What we're going to be talking about in today's video is the complete lineup for the 2021 Wings of Strength Chicago Pro in the men's open division. So if you're interested, stay tuned. As always, we're going to go through each competitor. We're going to talk about who they are, what was their last show they competed in, and potentially if they have any new physique updates online, specifically Instagram. So let's go ahead and start off with the first competitor. The first competitor from the Czech Republic is going to be Slavoj Badar. And the last time we saw Slavoj compete was at the 2020 Romania Pro Muscle Fest, where he placed 11th in the men's open division. From what we can see on his Instagram, here it is, please follow. But for what we can see, he looks like he's in fairly good conditioning. Good vascularity, muscles look full. And when I first look at this competitor, when I look at Slavoj, I actually have a feeling of 212. When I look at him, the muscle insertions and just how his body flows, it reminds me of a 212 competitor, but it'll definitely be interesting to see how he places at the Chicago Pro. Stay tuned for the next video where we'll talk about the predictions. Next on the scorecard is Max Charles. And unfortunately, Max hasn't posted any physique updates on his feed. He could have potentially on his story, but those are only temporary for 24 hours. So that is what it is. We are gonna go off of his 11th place finish at the 2020 Mr. Olympia. And Max Charles has been criticized for not bringing the right amount of conditioning, specifically in the legs and in the back department. We'll look at it in a second, but I like his physique. I think it flows very well. Nothing is blown out of proportion. He has a great set of arms, well-developed chest, visible six-pack. It was sometimes very rare in the men's open, but it is nice to see. You do start to notice the kind of that Rami situation where it's very watered and there's not a lot of definition in the upper quad. It is what it is, but overall he has a very pleasing physique. It's just sometimes, from what I've seen from the judging, is he gets criticized for the conditioning, and sometimes there's just not a big wow factor with his physique. And in this sort of sport, when you're surrounded by other professionals that are the best of the best, that's not always good for placing in that first call out or winning shows. Next on the list is one of my favorites. I actually really enjoy Phil, is Phil Kalhar. And the last time we saw Phil compete was at the 2020 New York Pro, where he placed 10th. He did place 4th at the Tampa Pro, which is the photos I used. I think this is his best package to date. And he actually beat a lot of the names on this list. So I won't get into it too much. Wait for the prediction video. But Phil has a great physique. He started lifting later in life, working with Dave Palumbo over at RX Muscle. So they've been putting together a pretty impressive physique. I've enjoyed the showings that he's brought, especially being this was his pro debut at the Tampa Pro, and then later on at the New York Pro. So we can expect to see a good showing from Phil. He's older. He has that really clean looking muscle. The skin is very thin for Phil, and he shows up in very good conditioning. When we go over and check out Phil Kalhar's Instagram, although he does not post a lot of physique updates, this is from the 3rd of July, and it's just not showing a lot going on here. You can see some vascularity, but really not a lot for the journalism side or the media side to see what his physique is going to be looking like or what we can expect to see from him at the Chicago Pro. Next on the list is going to be James Culberson. The last time we saw James Culberson is actually recently at the 2021 Indy Pro in the men's open category, where he placed 11th. And like I said, he placed 11th at the 2021 Indy Pro. Unfortunately, I didn't have coverage of that show. I was still heavily involved in my new job, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how he places at this show. And unfortunately, I don't have too much more to say about him. Moving over to his Instagram, it's private, so it's kind of interesting to see an IFBB pro with a private Instagram, but it's definitely not the first time we've seen it here on this channel. So hopefully we can see some physique updates from James leading into the Chicago Pro. Next on the list is Matt Koba. The last time we saw Matt Koba compete was at the 2020 Tampa Pro, where he placed 9th. And on the left here, you can already see I put them together for you, some nice photo collab montage template things. We have his most recent stage shots and his most recent physique updates from his Instagram. The front lat spread, he is very well known for his conditioning, absolutely diced. But there was some discrepancies on the size. He was being outsized from a few competitors, at least at his last showing. Based off of what we see here, he's kind of changed how he poses. I think it's going to be more beneficial for him if he does not do the vacuum, or tries to attempt to have that open chest with the potential vacuum pose here on that front lat spread. I think the other variation, his most recent shot, actually accentuates the larger chest, and I think it just looks a lot more aesthetic. It makes him look a lot bigger. So if that's where him and his team are going, him and his camp, I like that move. Either way, it's going to be an exciting showing from Matt Koba. And quickly, I want to plug his Instagram, Matt Koba, no spaces, and there's lots of physique updates, so make sure you check out his channel when you get a second. Next on the list, Hunter Labrada. Hunter Labrada is, I don't think it's debatable to say that he is one of the 3 favorites to win this show. The last time we saw Hunter Labrada compete was at the Olympia, the 2020 Mr. Olympia, where he placed 8th. A fantastic showing, a fantastic Mr. Olympia debut for the young Hunter Labrada. And Hunter is no slouch of posting physique updates. Something that's nice about this new generation of social media bodybuilders slash pros, obviously, they like to share their physique updates. They like to let the fans and the media know exactly what's going on with their physiques. That's something I can definitely appreciate on both sides of the spectrum as a fan and as part of the media. Now, he was criticized at the Olympia for his conditioning. I think it's pretty well known that at the Tampa he had much better conditioning. That's how he beat out debatably a much large, maybe not much, but a larger competitor in Ian Valliere. So hopefully, and it looks like they're already doing it now as we look at these quads, the feathering in the quads already, is that the Labrada camp, the Labrada team, is bringing a much more conditioned Hunter Labrada. Also, if you do not know, he did tear his pec, and I thought it was very noticeable at the Olympia, but it looks like they've been adjusting his posing or training around that injury, or maybe even having a surgery. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comment sections below, but it definitely doesn't seem like it's very noticeable to me, at least. But if you guys are still seeing it, definitely let me know. The back I think looks comparable. I think that's probably one of my favorite shots on him. But then in the same conversation, I'm not a huge fan of his rear lat spread. I feel like he's losing a lot of size to some of the other competitors, but that's going to come in time. Hunter is, I think he's my age. He's in his very young 20s, mid 20s. So he has lots of time to build that world-class physique. And that really speaks volumes with his first Olympia appearance being 8th place. Moving over to his Instagram, I'm sure you're following it, but just in case you're not, Hunter Labrada, no space. Like I said, posting lots of physique updates here, so you really have a lot of content to choose from when you're looking at what to expect from Hunter Labrada at this year's 2021 Wings of Strength Chicago Pro. Next on the list is Joseph Mackey, or Joe Mackey. Hailing from Destination Dallas is his gym, Dallas, Texas, obviously. Joe Mackey was probably one of the more hyped competitors going into the 2020 Tampa Pro. Unfortunately, it didn't work out as a lot of people were predicting. Joe Mackey did place 8th at that show, so just outside of that first call out. But the question is, what can we expect from Joe Mackey at this year's 2021 Chicago Pro? He looks, based off of his most recent Instagram post here on the left, it looks like he has the same amount of mass, maybe has made some improvements. It's a little tough to say because this photo is a little old. The conditioning isn't completely there, but you can definitely tell that there has been some improvements, at least in that lower back. If you can kind of see, it looks like there's some more density here compared to in this stage shot. Maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's the angle. It's hard to tell. Let me know in the comment sections below. But we're definitely expecting to see Joe Mackey show up in phenomenal condition at the Chicago Pro. And different but same, Justin Mackey. Different spelling, different competitor completely. Justin Mackey is the next competitor on this list. The last time we saw Justin Mackey compete was at the 2020 Tampa Pro, where he placed 7th in the men's open bodybuilding. Now, Justin is a very aesthetically pleasing physique. I love seeing his content. I love seeing him on stage. Very beautiful physique, very beautiful lines, but he definitely does get outsized by some of the competitors. Based off of last year's stage shots, I thought he came in really good shape. I definitely was expecting him to do very well. Over on my personal channel, Slavoj Bodybuilding, I did an athlete spotlight. So if you want to learn more about Justin Mackey beyond the stage, definitely check that out, Sanj_bodybuilding. But I do love his physique. It's something that you don't always get to see on the men's open bodybuilding stage, is such beautiful lines, tiny waist, comparable legs to the other competitors. There was some lacking of conditioning when we start looking at this back, but the glutes were absolutely spot on. So it'll be interesting to see what Justin Mackey and the Hostile team and whoever else he's working with in that camp can do to make some improvements coming into this 2021 season, specifically the Chicago Pro. As always, another easy to remember Instagram title or tag, I think it's called a tag, aging myself there, but Justin Mackey _. Ensure you're following him. He posts beautiful physique updates. They didn't line up perfectly with my template, so I didn't do side by sides, but I like what I'm seeing from the Justin Mackey camp here. Just under 10 hours ago from this last post, 4 days out from the Chicago Pro, you can definitely expect to see some beautiful flowing lines and physiques, great muscle insertions, big thick muscle bellies from Justin Mackey at the Chicago Pro. Next on the list is a newcomer, Zach Merkel. And the last time we saw Zach Merkel was at the 2019 North Americans, where he won his pro card. He actually beat out Nick Walker at that show. So just a little bit of fun bodybuilding history for you. But on the right, we have his most recent 2019 showing. And on the left, we have his most recent physique update from his Instagram. And it is pretty clear that he has put on some size. You can definitely see the girth of the legs has improved. They're touching a lot deeper down as we get into the adductor, one of those muscles. I use the machines, but this is getting a little bit more girthier. Also, the sweep looks a little bit more impressive as well. The chest looks a tad bit fuller, so hopefully this can maintain and improve. It can maintain and sustain that size and fullness, but also improve in conditioning. And same with the back. You can definitely tell some size has been put on with these lat wings as we start getting into this lower back. Maybe would like to see a little bit more thickness, as these lats do look like they connect higher in, but that's something you really can't correct, but you can make improvements, and I think that's exactly what he's been doing. The legs look comparable, they still look big. I like the way he poses to really emphasize that outer quad sweep, even though it's from the back. And he's definitely have a lot more time to tighten this up and bring in that conditioning. The glutes already look like they're getting there, but I'd like to see a little bit more in these hamstrings, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do. And next on the list is Aslam Muhammad. I believe I got that one pretty close. The last time we saw Aslam Muhammad was at the 2018 Romania Pro Muscle Festival, where he placed 9th in the men's open category. The shots were kind of interesting, so it'll definitely be I hate to say interesting again, but it will be interesting to see how he places here. Definitely not comparable to most of the competitors, a very classic-esque physique, but also great conditioning, very grainy conditioning. So it'll be interesting to see how he compares to the rest of the open class bodybuilders. I would be, I don't think it would be a very hard push to say that he would be very interesting. I hate to keep saying it, but I think it would be interesting to see him stand next to Justin Mackey. Their physiques could be very comparable. Moving over to his Instagram, looks like everyone's already following him with 93,000 followers, but if you are not already, definitely do so. Looks like he's looking for some sponsors, so if anyone's out there looking to want to sponsor this fella, there's his Instagram, get a hold of him. He does post physique updates, so we can see that he's in very good condition coming into the show, but it's definitely not the perfect shots that I like to see when I'm doing these photo side-by-side comparisons. Apologies, seizure warning, but it does look, like I said, that he's going to be coming in very good conditioning. But the question is, how will that compare up to the rest of the open class? Another competitor that I think is going to be very interesting to see, as he makes, I think it's on TikTok, but he makes a lot of fun content that I've seen, is going to be Seth Shaw. Seth Shaw, the last time we saw him, was also at the 2020 Tampa Pro, where he placed 11th respectfully. On the right here, obviously, was the stage shots, and on the left here we can see the most recent physique updates out of the Seth camp. Definitely looks like he's made some improvements in the legs. They look a lot bigger. The sweep looks very nice. I also like what he's got going on in the chest department. Looks like there's been some improvements there as well. The arms look almost double in size, so that'll be interesting to see how much of that is retained and maintained as he starts to diet down a little bit more and starts getting sometimes getting a little bit flatter. And some more shots from Seth Shaw, that front lat spread. Really great conditioned legs. It'll definitely be interesting to see how those show up. He looks like a taller competitor. Comment below if you guys know how tall this guy is, but he definitely looks like, when you look at these limbs, it looks like he's a taller fellow. But like I said, it will be interesting to see how these arms maintain as we get closer and closer to the show. Also, it looks like there's been some improvements in these back shots as well. Big Slank. Big Slank. Yeah, Big Slank is his Instagram handle. I'm sure he has his TikTok in here somewhere, but he's definitely been posting out some entertaining content as of late, and also an Air Force veteran, so we appreciate your service, sir. But definitely going to be one of, I don't want to sell it too early, but this is going to be one of the dark horses, I think, for this show. So stay tuned for that next video. We'll be talking about my predictions for the men's open class at the Chicago Pro. And another seasoned competitor that we've seen a lot of competing from is going to be Hassan Mustafa. Now, Hassan and his team have been really working with Chris Aceto. They've been really trying to figure out how to bring Hassan better conditioned. Something that we've been noticing as we keep going through this competitive season. This is his third or fourth show now, the most recent being the 2021 Puerto Rico Pro, is that he's big. He's always been big, right? But the problem is that the conditioning just isn't there to the extent for him to win shows. That's what they want. It would seem now at this point that although they're still trying to get that win, it does start to seem like they're just trying to rack up a bunch of points so that regardless they can make it to the Olympia on points. But let me know in the comment sections what you guys think about that. Do you think that the Hassan Mustafa camp are just trying to rack up a bunch of points, or do you really think that they're going to be able to nail it and win an Olympia qualifying show in 2021? And very similar to the Hunter Labrada situation, the Hassan Mustafa camp, their team over there at Dragon Gym in Vegas, have been posting a plethora of content and footage and physique updates. So there's really a lot that we get to pick from these different physique updates. You get a pick. There's lots here. Here is his Instagram if you're not following it. But he's actually a very young competitor. Something people don't think about is this guy is a year older than me. He's not even 30. So the world is this guy's oyster. Him and Hunter Labrada, they're both very, very young competitors. So I feel like I say it a lot. I should put it on a shirt. It'll be interesting to see what we can see in terms of conditioning is what we want to see here. I don't think most people are going to care how small he comes in. It's really going to come down to the conditioning. But a caveat or a caveat to that would be that the Chicago Pro is usually rewarded by size. So maybe he's going to get rewarded for having that size. It just really depends on who the head judge is. And we just saw it in that last photo, actually. The next competitor on the list is Mohammed Shaban. And the last time we saw Mohammed Shaban compete was at the 2021 Cali Pro, where he placed second behind Patrick Moore. Controversial in my opinion, and a lot of people thought that Mohammed could have won that show, but apples and oranges when you start looking at someone like Patrick Moore's physique. It's very one or two apples or oranges, and unfortunately Mohammed Shaban got the oranges of the apples at that show. But he's definitely going to be potentially one of those top three favorites to win this show. It's really going to come down to what level of conditioning Mohammed Shaban is going to bring to the Chicago Pro. He has been phenomenal so far in the 2021 season, but it will be up to him and his camp, and it's going to be the conditioning that's really going to determine where he's going to place at the Chicago Pro. And based off of the most recent Instagram posts over at the Shaban camp here at Shaban_IFBB Pro, it looks like Mohammed Shaban is going to be bringing that level of conditioning, or at least the vascularity, right? Very vascular coming into this show. This is 10 hours ago, so very recent photo from Mohammed Shaban leading into his peak week for the Chicago Pro. But let me know in the comment sections below what you guys think about Mohammed Shaban's placing. Do you think he's going to get that win? Do you think he's going to get in the top three? Let me know. If you don't know, now you know. Another newcomer on the list is going to be next. I think I already covered Seth Shaw. I don't know how I mixed him in there, but Brett Wilkins is going to be by far one of the biggest dark horses coming into this show. The last time we saw him was at the 2019 Puerto Rico Pro in the 212, where he placed 10th. And this is probably one of the more shocking transformations. I actually, when I start looking at this, this actually looks like his pro debut. where he won the pro card here, but I could be wrong. But he brought absolutely fantastic conditioning. My wife, she walked in and she even said that this guy was crazy shredded, and she doesn't really follow the sport. But moving into his most recent physique updates, you can definitely tell he's put on some size. Whoever he's been working with, I think it's Matt Jensen actually. I thought I saw that in the photo. Lots of size coming onto this physique, lots of improvements. Potentially, we're gonna see these improvements translate onto the Chicago stage, especially when you look at this back. This looks like a top 6 back, so it's really going to be interesting to see how potentially a dark horse like Brett Wilkins will do at the Chicago Pro. Moving over to his Instagram, Brett_Wilkin. Here's his sponsor tags if you guys want to check that stuff out. Lots of physique updates. I believe he just recently posted a guest posing, at the USA's, where he guest posed next to Nick Walker. Looked very comparable. So if he can look this good next to Nick Walker, it's definitely going to spell out some big potential for him at this year's Chicago Pro. But let me know, who do you think could beat Brett Wilkins at this year's Chicago Pro? I probably took the words right out of your mouth, but Rolly Winkler is definitely going to be someone who could potentially beat Brett Wilkins, who could potentially beat everyone. Rolly Winkler, probably one of the more seasoned competitors when we start talking about that higher echelons of elite bodybuilders. But it has been a minute since we saw Rolly Winkler. The last time we saw him was at the 2018 Olympia, and then right after that he placed first at the Yamamoto Pro in 2019 at the Yamamoto Cup. So it's been a minute since we've seen Rolly Winkler actually be on stage in contest conditioning, and Rolly Winkler is probably going to be one of those freak factors at this show. It's going to come down to, what are the judges looking for? Are they going to reward someone with superior mass, or are they going to go for someone with a little bit better conditioning? I think it would be not a crazy prediction to have Rolly Winkler and Mohammed Shaban side by side. They both have a lot of mass, and sometimes Rolly can come in great conditioning. He has had issues with his midsection in the past, but I do believe that those are issues of the past. So let me know in the comment sections below where you think Rolly Winkler is going to place at this year's Chicago Pro. And that'll do it for another episode on the Bodybuilding News Network, specifically a contest prep coverage of the 2021 Chicago Pro on another episode of Bodybuilding Today. I'm your host, Sanch. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for watching all the videos that have come out lately. In the last week or so, this channel has grown 3 times since we really started getting these videos going. I made a couple around the Olympia, didn't get a lot of traction at all, and then we just started really diving into it for the Portugal Pro, and then now the Chicago Pro. It looks like you guys are enjoying this content, so I'm enjoying making it for you. If you have any comments, questions, sounds like Haku has some comments and questions, my cat. But if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or recommendations for some upcoming videos, or how I can make these videos better, please leave them in the comment sections below, or message me either on the Bodybuilding News Network or Sanch_bodybuilding on Instagram. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching another installment on the Bodybuilding News Network. I'm your host, Sanch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.